Please use your microphone. I am Councillor Jeremy Cottam, Chairman of West Berkshire Council. The meeting is being live streamed via YouTube, so members of the public are able to follow proceedings. Council members are present in the chamber for this meeting. Any members of council who are in attendance remotely will be entitled to speak and ask questions when invited to do so by myself. The officers in attendance are the Chief Executive, Nigel Lynn, Executive Director of Resources, Joseph Holmes, the Interim Executive Director for People, Paul Coe, the Executive Director for Place, Claire Lawrence, and the Service Lead Legal and Democratic Services, Nicola Thomas. Sarah Clark, the Monitoring Officer, will be the legal advisor to the meeting. I am assisted by David Cook, the clerk to the meeting, and by Lizzie Reeves, who will be acting as the Zoom host. Welcome to Honorary Aldermen in attendance and those being nominated tonight. During the meeting, when a motion has been proposed and seconded, I will ask the Monitoring Officer to conduct the vote by a show of hands. So we move on succinctly to moving to agenda item 1. Apologies, please, for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. We have received apologies from councillors Billy Drummond, Nigel Foote, Eric Pattenden, Paul Kander, Dominic Bowick, and Jeff Mays and Vicky Poole, who can't be in attendance, but I understand will be joining via Zoom. And I believe we've also had apologies from Honorary Alderman Paul Bryant, Adrian Edwards, and former councillor Rick Jones, who'd been nominated for the position of Honorary Alderman. So I don't know whether there are any further apologies from the floor.
Late apologies from Councillor Shakespeare.
Thank you. If members heard that, we've had apologies from Councillor Shakespeare.
Thank you. Moving to agenda item 2, declarations of interest. I will ask the Monitoring Officer if there have been any declarations of interest submitted prior to the meeting and if there are any declarations from the floor.
Chairman, we've had no apologies, no declarations of interest prior to the meeting, and I don't know whether any members have any to declare.
Thank you. So moving to agenda item 3, Honorary Aldermen and Alderwomen nominations. Can I invite Councillor Ross McKinnon to formally move the motion on page 9 of the agenda pack, please?
So moved, Chairman. Thank you.
Can I check that the seconder is Councillor Lee Dillon?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. Happy to second.
Do you wish to reserve the right to speak?
Chairman, with your permission, a few of us on the front bench have just got a few very brief words to say about the nominees for Alderman, and I appreciate time is an issue, so it will be very brief. But in due course, we'd like the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a list of names, so please proceed.
You're first with Jeff.
Well, what do you say about the legend that is Jeff Beck? He's been a Newbury district and subsequent. No, sorry. My apologies. And subsequently West Berkshire District Council for a total of 19 years between 2000 and 2003, and from 2007 to the recent elections, when he decided it was time to retire gracefully. He chaired committees between 2007 and 2013, again in 2015, and never one to give in yet again in 2019 to 20. And he was, of course, chairman of the council in 2014. However, it is his role as a ward member, of which he's possibly best remembered. He worked tirelessly representing his residents, as I sometimes found at my cost as a portfolio holder. But it was always with a wry smile, and he was always the polite gentleman. Other roles included sitting on Newbury Down Council and being the council representative on Hennick Worthy. Jeff, your words of wisdom are missed and your length of service appreciated. An honorary aldermanship is the least that this council can do to recognise that.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very proud to call Graham Bridgman a great friend as well as a colleague. He showed outstanding leadership and commitment to West Berkshire during the COVID outbreak as deputy leader. And I know that Lynn found him to be a tower of strength at that time. I've never known anyone to be as all over the details as Graham, which isn't surprising that he had a long career as a lawyer before entering local politics. Officers and colleagues would come to know the process of their work being proofread by Graham as being bridgemaned. And the man would show no mercy to a stray apostrophe or inconsistent paragraph alignment. Absolutely relentless. He was a hugely effective councillor, committee chairman and portfolio holder, and I very much miss his presence in our top team. Graham's a lovely man, very generous with his time and his hospitality, and my two young boys love going to visit him and Joan in Mortimer, where they're always spoiled and made a fuss over. I'm delighted for him to receive this honour this evening.
Glasses on or off? Councillor Hilary Cole, as she was, and as I've always known her, because I've only known Hilary for 4 years, served as an elected member for 16 years, and in that time has covered a very wide variety of senior roles, including vice chairman in 2008, deputy leader from 2012 to 2018, and just about every service portfolio within the council. In fact, one of my favourite sayings of Hilary's is, when I was the portfolio holder. Hilary has been an extremely dedicated elected member with a great deal of knowledge and experience, and always striving to do the best for our residents, which I think we all want to do as well, but with a determined and very open and honest approach. You always know where you stand with Hilary, good or bad. I know Hilary has already started to enjoy the next phase of her life post-council, and I really hope that that continues for as long as possible. I want to say to Hilary, thank you for all of your years of hard work and service to the residents of West Berks Council, and congratulations on being nominated as an honorary alderwoman.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Chairman. As we've just heard, Rick unfortunately can't be with us this evening. He's taken a turn for the poorly. However, I do want to say I'm delighted to support the nomination for Rick Jones. From our first meeting during his by-election campaign in 2014 and his short term before re-election, Rick has been nothing but supportive to colleagues and determined to represent his constituents and residents of West Berkshire, including as parish chairman before his district election success. I think it was easy for the then leadership to see just how much Rick had to offer, and his collaborative approach was rewarded soon after with his first portfolio holder position in 2017. His senior positions culminating as chairman of the council in his final year. Thoroughly deserved, Rick, and I hope you have a very speedy recovery and that you and Val enjoy some quieter times together now that you're moving on. It's just like the old up and downy days, isn't it? Former councillor Law. My first proper recollection of Alan Law was in the low-key, straightforward matter of the DPD in 2015, just after my first election and halfway through his terms. Nothing controversial, just to ensure that the appropriate development allocations were agreed across the council. Who would dare say that planning was controversial, I thought. Well, in time, I found out for myself, clearly. I think you only have to look at the list of positions held by Alan to see how well he was regarded. No portfolio is small, really, but there has to be a solid level of determination to achieving them. And there's no shortage of that determination, in my opinion. Alan and I have a few things in common. As well as being portfolio holder for planning, we've both had transport policy. We've both been active in the scrutiny commissions, and we've both an appreciation for Porsches. And most importantly, we have a love for supporting the only red team in the north, really. And yes, I do mean the only one, Lee. And yes, I have literally written that down. Indeed. I'm very pleased to support this nomination, members. It's very well deserved. Alan and Mavis, my best wishes to you both. Alan, you'll never walk alone.
And so we come to Gordon Lundy. Gordon had a long political career in West Berkshire, starting as a Lambourne Valley councillor in 2003 and remaining as such until 2019. He was also elected as district councillor for Lambourne in 2003, along with Graham Jones, both of whom were my predecessors, albeit for a larger ward. He became policyholder for children and young people on the executive between 2009 and 2011, before taking over the transformation portfolio for a year, before becoming leader of the council between 2012 and 2015. Gordon led much of the structural change needed when austerity started biting hard from 2010, requiring transformation in the way the council conducted its business and focusing on services. Gordon was the one to ask the difficult but necessary questions. When as leader, children and young people got a poor Ofsted report, Gordon focused like a laser beam on the problems, and he and Lynn Doherty, as the portfolio holder at the time, transformed the service to good, an unheard of jump of 2 classifications. Gordon has been one of the most natural and gifted orators in the chamber. He is also the founding member of PUFLOB. Graham is the other member. It stands for the Popular Front for the Liberation of Berkshire, with the aim of returning the occupied territories of the Vale of Whitehorse to Berkshire. I'm sure that Gordon won't mind me saying that he was a Marmite character. He achieved great things for this council at the cost of offending some sensibilities, but he was the right man, at the right time, in the right job. His efforts led to a balanced budget that subsequent administrators achieved, whilst maintaining service delivery. I'm delighted that Gordon has been nominated as an honorary alderman, well deserved for all he achieved.
Former councillor Tony Linden. On one of the first occasions that I met Tony after I was first elected, he introduced me to someone as his ward wife. And I must say that was quite a surprise to me. Actually, it could be considered that I was more of a surrogate mother than wife to Tony. Have you got a hat with you, Tony? Have you got some tissues, Tony? Keep out of the road, Tony, and mind that car, Tony, being just some of what you'd regularly hear while we were out canvassing together. But Tony has served as a local councillor for 35 years in total, which is a great achievement of which I know he is very proud, and rightly so. He was also a committed and enthusiastic member of the Royal Berkshire Fire Authority and received an award from them only a few months ago. It was a shock when Tony was beaten by just 1 vote in the last local election, a cruel way to be taken out of the role, if I can say that. But I just want to say thank you, Tony, for the help and support that you gave me as a newly elected member in 2019, and congratulations on being nominated as an honorary alderman.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members. Finally, I have the pleasure of saying just a few words about Graham Pask, who, again, is one of the nicest people you could ever hope to meet. For 36 years, 36, he represented his residents superbly well through some boundary changes in both Bradfield and Bucklebrae. I inherited Bradfield Parish from him and Quentin in 2019 after the boundary change, and he proved an invaluable help to me as a new councillor, and he was always more than happy to offer guidance and advice. He was very much respected across the chamber during his 2 stints as chairman of council. He had several executive portfolios from 2005, including children and young people, cleaner, greener, which I think we would now call environment or climate change. It's a developing portfolio, partnerships and communities. Graham was a superbly knowledgeable chairman of Eastern Area Planning Committee, and his kind and generous manner put residents and members alike at ease. What his favourite phrase, we've had Councillor Cole's favourite phrase, but Councillor Pask, it's a limit and not a target. That will live with me for a long time. I know Graham very much enjoyed planning, and that came across very well in his chairmanship. I hope he enjoys his well-deserved retirement, and I'm delighted to propose him for honorary alderman. Thanks.
Thank you all. I will now ask the monitoring officer to take the vote.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Lee.
I won't talk about any individuals, and I think the words read out by leaders of the shadow front bench are appropriate for all of them. Although the one thing I do have is I have a pleasure of having served with everybody who is receiving an honorary alderman award tonight. They are absolutely deserved. This isn't about politics. This is about serving your community and getting recognition for that. And each and every one of you deserve that for what you've done for your own residents and collectively for the council. So thank you for your service and hope you enjoy being honorary aldermen and honorary alderwomen. Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon, as the proposer, do you have anything further to?
No, nothing further to add. I think it's all been said. I'm delighted to make the proposal. Well done, everyone.
Thank you.
So if I can now ask all members in favour of the proposal to nominate the former members as honorary aldermen, can I please ask you to raise your hands now? Thank you. Any against? Or abstentions? I believe that is unanimously carried, Chairman.
Fine, thank you very much indeed. And we will take, I have some presentations to give, and if we'll order, we'll go over to the right here, or your left. Could Graham Bridgman come forward, please? We have, here in mind, if not in body, Hilary Cole. Is she in the waiting room?
She is, she's on Zoom.
It's over here. Hey, we can't see you, Hilary. Or hear you, which is unusual.
Can you hear me? I can't start my video.
Ah, good. I'm glad. I was very worried there.
I'm afraid I can't start the video for some obscure reason.
Well, maybe you just wanted to say a word.
Well, I did, thank you, Chairman, and thank you for agreeing to let me zoom in. And I just want to thank members for this accolade. As has been mentioned, none of us have become councillors for the kudos to prestige, but the recognition of my peers is most welcome and much appreciated. And I'm pleased to be joining an illustrious group of former councillors who've been honoured in this way. And as I'm enjoying my new life in Pembrokeshire, I do urge you not to forget the West Berkshire way of doing things, and that whilst continuing to enjoy healthy, robust and challenging debates in the Chamber, you also work together for the benefit of the communities and residents you serve. And I wish you every success in your endeavours. And on the final note, I know there is a title, Honorary Alderwoman, but being a traditionalist, I really do prefer to be known as an Honorary Alderman. Thank you.
Of course, we made an exception for Councillor Cole because being environmentally friendly, we didn't want to have to do a 400-mile round trip. So we're making an exception. Normally, obviously, we prefer people to come to be present. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Cole. And the next is Alan Law. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Chairman, Alderman, Leader of the Council and members. This is a tremendously proud moment for me. When I look back at the very small number of councillors who are actually nominated and become aldermen, I'm tremendously humble and very proud that you have selected me to join that illustrious group. Thank you very much.
Well done again. Right, we have Gordon Lundy.
Members and aldermen, firstly, thank you for the honour this evening. I'm delighted to be named as an honorary alderman. You all do a fantastic job here. It's a really difficult job. First night I sat in this chamber as a freshly hatched councillor, the chair at the time said, it's a tremendous privilege to sit at this chamber and make decisions. And it is. And I sat here for 16 years and was always reminded of that every single time I came into the chamber. You represent and manage the lives of 160,000 people, and you do it really well. And it's been an absolute pleasure to play a small part in that whilst I was here. And thank you very much for this evening. Good luck.
And Tony Linden.
It's a great honour for you giving me an honorary aldermanship. Thank you very much. I'm really glad that I've been adopted by Councillor Joe Stewart. I will have to tell my 89-year-old mother that I have been adopted because obviously I don't want to be an orphan recently. So you have to drive carefully, Joe. I was chairman of the licensing committee as well, by the way, and a former chairman of the health scrutiny subcommittee, which thankfully we've now got a health scrutiny subcommittee back again. And also I intend to follow, I'll see what the electorate have to say, Councillor Jeff Brooks. And I will follow in his footsteps. And now, of course, honorary alderman again, Royce Longton. So hopefully I'll stand again in 4 years' time and be with you again. So thanks again. Thank you. Bye.
And Graham Pask.
Thank you, Chair.
I promise I'll be uncharacteristically brief. It really has been a privilege to have served the residents of various parishes over the years, mainly, of course, the key Bucklebury, but other parishes have come and gone. Thank you for your kind words, Ross. It's been a pleasure, mostly, especially when chairing this wonderful council. I too am very honoured that I've been selected to be an alderman, and I'm grateful to you all for your support, and I wish you all well in the future. Thank you.
And here I feel Mohammed has to go to the mountain because Jeff is here, and the logistics of getting over here, I will take it to him. Yes.
Yeah. On your left, Roger. Okay.
Chairman, Vice Chairman, councillors past and present. Now then, where do I go from here? There's so many people that I really need to thank. First of all, I thank the electorate of Newbury for electing me in 2000, along with my late wife, Councillor Alma Beck. Alma was a school teacher all her working life, and she absolutely loved the work she did here, involved with children and inspections of schools, etc., etc. And as you can well believe, she kept me on the straight and narrow path in all things to do with young children and education. Later, she was a tremendous support as well when I served as vice chairman and chairman of this council. I see Lee nodding. I can remember one Christmas in particular at the West Berkshire Hospital, where we actually toured the hospital together. Very memorable events. And what a lot of people do not realise is the value that the voluntary sector do provide to supporting and keeping running so many, many things in West Berkshire. And when the likes of Lee and myself and others go out and sort of have a chat with them and say thank you, etc., it is very much appreciated. And it really makes the whole damn thing tick. Now then, subsequently, in recent times, I've been assisted by my very good friend, Jan Cover, who has actually sort of served on Thatcham Town Council and served a term as mayor. It has enabled us to actually sort of chew the fat, if I might say. When you get resident complaints or concerns, whatever you like to call them, it depends on the day. It is good to be able to actually sort of talk this over and come to a resolution which will help that resident or residents feel a lot better about what is going on or what is going to go on. As the saying goes, two heads are better than one. Through all this time, I have been tremendously supported by my son, Roger. In our house, it echoes with my voice saying, Roger, can you spare me a few minutes, please? And he knows what's coming. It's IT. Oh, heavens. Has he been a help? Fantastic. Can I say thank you to all the councillors that I've served and worked with, the officers, and the numerous residents who have actually supported me over the years. Thank you all very, very much indeed. And I wish you all well with the future of this council. Thank you.
Right again. Good evening. We're about to start our second meeting of this evening. We've been live streamed. I won't go through all the preamble, but just to say that, good evening yet again. Welcome back. We now start the scheduled meeting of the council. Before we start this evening's meeting, I would like to take the opportunity to remind members that we are subject to the council's code of conduct, which requires us to uphold certain standards, including importantly respect. Members across the chamber may not always agree with one another, but I would ask that in our disagreements, we endeavour to always be respectful of others' views. Each member will be asked to vote on an item either by raising their hand or by using the microphone technology as directed by myself. If any members has difficulty using the technology, please raise your hand and your actual hand, and an officer will assist. If we need to adjourn the meeting at any point, I will adjourn and will advise a revised time and date of the meeting. So we go swiftly to item 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. We have received apologies from councillors Billy Drummond, Nigel Foot, Eric Pattenden, Paul Kander, Dominic Bowick, Jeff Mays and Vicky Poole, who I believe will be attending via Zoom, and Councillor Max Shakespeare. We've also had apologies from Honorary Alderman Paul Bryant and Adrian Edwards. Sorry, Chairman, I had some technological difficulties then. I don't know whether there are any further apologies from the floor. No.
Right, thank you. I have attended a number of events since the council last met, including, especially proud for this council, the Newbury Library receiving the staff, it's not us, it's the staff, have actually achieved the Library of Sanctuary status for people such as refugees and such like to come and have a welcoming, safe place to go to. Also, another thing to be launched by the council is a community alcohol partnership, which is looking to work with partners from medical to police to schools and other public bodies to try and address underage drinking especially. Then again, another joyful and very warm meeting was the citizenship ceremony, where people come to receive their British Citizens Award. It really was a joyful occasion. They're so excited and happy, and they've been through a lot. I know my wife applied, and it was just to sign a paper and pay £50. Here, it's quite different, and I'm not sure I could have answered all the questions myself. But anyway, we warmly welcome them to our country. So on top of that, a last minute one was to Thrive, which is just the other side of Mortimer. It's organising gardening for people with challenging personal issues, and very varied, and it was, again, very enjoyable. But it hasn't just been me, because I was away on holiday, so Councillor Drummond, my Vice Chairman, also went out and about. I know he's particularly interested in getting to know the Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service Day. Also the Newbury Street Pastor AGM, and a supper party for the Reading Episcopal area held by the Diocese of Oxford. So we've been getting off to a good start. Thank you. So we move on to agenda item 3, presentations, which we have the councillors here, I believe. It is for long service ward. Thank you. May I call former councillor Tony Linden to come forward. Tony has been a councillor for 35 years. Doesn't exist if it's not on Facebook. May I now call forward Councillor Jeff Brooks. Councillor Brooks has been a councillor for 25 years.
Thank you, members. It's very humbling. I went on to Berkshire County Council in 1994. So what is that, 29 years? But I was given a 3-year holiday by the voters in 2015. And I think that's what Councillor Linden was referring to, because I am actually a suspended alderman. Nothing I did wrong, except that I became a councillor again. In fact, when I was nominated for it and the ruling group at the time were giving it to me, I thought it was a terrific ruse by them, because I thought I wouldn't be able to stand as a councillor again. I thought it was their tactics to actually take me out of the political, arena, but it didn't work, Ross, so I came back. It is a great honour, and it was said earlier tonight, it's a privilege to work for people, to be voted to come here, an absolute privilege. Whatever your politics, to be asked and supported to come here and do good work for people is just so humbling, really. And that's why we work so hard over so many years to do our best for the people of West Berkshire. And I hope to keep doing it as long as I reasonably can. I became a councillor when I was 40 on Thatcham Town Council. I'm not sure if I get to 80. If I do, that will be half of my life. Imagine that. But I'm not necessarily saying I'm going that long, Ross, so you can relax. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
May I now call Councillor Phil Barnett to come forward. Councillor Barnett has been a councillor for 20 years.
Chairman, aldermen, councillors and members of the public. I've had the pleasure actually being on various councils. Of course, 91 was part of the great intake, and I was proud to be along with you, Chairman, and served 2 sessions on Newby District, and also along with Councillor Jeff Brooks for the final 18 months of Berkshire County Council. And then, of course, in 97, we become a unitary. And I was lucky to serve for another 2 sessions on the unitary. And of course, like many of us, you're either the flavour of the month or the year, or you're not. And in the case of 2007, obviously, I took a back seat from this council, but I continued on the Newby Town Council for 2 sessions. And then, of course, back in 2019, several of us were, let's say, I wouldn't say accosted, but let's say more than encouraged to actually stand yet again. And of course, in 2019, the electorate favoured us. So, of course, some of us become phoenixes again, rising from the dead. And this time around, of course, I stood again, and
hopefully I shall have another 4 years. And like Councillor Jeff Brooks has said, he started around in his 40s, I did. And by the time 2027 arrives, I should be 80. So perhaps it's time I might decide not to continue. So thank you very much, members.
Unfortunately, Councillor Drummond, or fortunately for him, he's on holiday, was due to receive his certificate for being a councillor for 20 years. As he's given his apologies, I will present him with this at the next council meeting. Thank you. Right, thank you. So we come to item 4. I'm moving the onto the agenda for the minutes. May I ask that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of May 2023 be signed as a correct record.
So proposed, Mr. Chairman.
Is that seconded?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. I will ask the monitoring officer to conduct a vote. Oh, sorry, rushing ahead again, try and keep it short. Any comments or amendments? I think it was fairly straightforward. No, thank you. So we'll go to we'll go to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask all members in favour of the proposals to approve the minutes to please raise their hands? Thank you. Any against? Abstentions? Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that those minutes have been approved.
Thank you. So we're moving on to agenda item 5, declarations of interest. I will ask the monitoring officer if there have been any declarations of interest submitted prior to the meeting and if there are any declarations from the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. We've received no declarations in advance of the meeting, so I don't know if any members have any from the floor. No.
Thank you. So we're moving to agenda item 6. Have we any petitions? I ask the members if there are any petitions they wish to present to the council. No petitions? Okay, thank you. Right, so moving to agenda item 7, public questions. I wish to thank the members of the public that have submitted questions. It's truly valuable to get your ideas. The maximum amount of time allocated for public questions is 30 minutes. If we run out of time, any questions that are yet to be asked will be receive a written response following the meeting. The questions will appear on the screen and will be answered by the relevant portfolio holder. Questioners will be given the opportunity to ask a supplementary question. This should be to clarify the response provided and must not introduce any new business. So we have a list of questions to go forward. The questionnaire, I think, is receiving a written answer. Yeah. Okay. And then question B from John Goatley. Please come forward and put your question as stated, please. You need to press the button. There's a red light.
I just asked my question as it's written.
Wonderful, thank you. And that's to be answered by Councillor Tony Vickers.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Goatley. An assessment under the Habitats Regulation, known as the HRA, must be undertaken to test if a plan or project proposal could significantly harm the designated features of a European site. In the case of the Faraday Road football pitch, the nearest European site is the River Lambourne SAC, that is special area of conservation, which joins the River Kennet approximately 1,200 metres downstream from the football pitch. Initial plans for Faraday Road will enable the grass pitch to be used for football. A longer-term plan for the site will be developed and will be the subject of future executive report. However, the introduction of the all-weather surface is not considered a project under the HRA regulations, and it is unlikely that the proposals would impact on the SAC. And do you have a supplementary?
Thank you for your question, but you'll be delighted to know I don't.
Thank you. Do we have Ms. Stanforth present? No. In that case, the written answer will be given by Councillor Cottingham. Thank you. And we move to question D from Paula Saunderson, and I believe it's on Zoom. Do we know if she's present? Paula?
Yes, she's been invited into the Zoom now.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Paula Saunderson? I can't hear you at the moment.
Sorry, it takes ages to come in. So could you just leave me as a panelist throughout the session, and I'll mute when I'm not engaged?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. Sorry, the portfolio holder that is going to answer this question has changed from the notification that I was given. So I'm hoping that this person will be the portfolio holder who is responsible for overseeing the work of the lead local flood authority.
Yes, we do believe that is the case.
Thank you.
Councillor Gaines.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your question, Ms. Saunderson. The council successfully bid for a grant in aid of funding from DEFRA and has been awarded £40,000 for a surface water study covering the Clay Hill ward. The brief for this work is currently being finalised and consultants will be procured in the near future. Other than this study, the council is undertaking a retrofit of some of the highway drainage on Faraday Road with sustainable drainage features and will undertake routine and reactive highway drainage work where needed. Could I just say that your first and second question are very similar, but looking at slightly different areas. The answer that I've just given you for that question is actually the same answer that I have for your second question. Have you got a supplementary?
Yes, I do. The work, the 40,000 actually only covers areas 1 and 2. So it doesn't cover areas 3 and 4, which is why I need to have a meeting with somebody to get to the detail of this stuff. It's probably not appropriate to say, but I'd like to actually thank ex-councillor Jeff Beck for his allowing me to become the lead on this during his last term when he didn't have the best of health.
Thank you very much.
And his encouragement. So please, I need to talk to somebody about this because it does not cover areas 3 and 4. And I would like to ask supplementary questions about area 4. Thank you.
Can you, have you got that question now? Or do you want
to? Right, hang on. I'll just, now can we go to it in sequence, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Can we go to it in sequence, please, Councillor Gaines?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Right, so at the moment we'll continue in the order that we have them here. And we have question E from John Goatley. Please come forward and ask your question. to councillor Vickers.
Right, question as written.
Thank you.
Mr. Goatley, thank you again. There will be no change to the hardened areas around the football pitch. No additional surface water is therefore necessary. The surface water drainage is necessary. Have you quite supplementary?
Yes, I do this time. The interesting thing is that pitch has a drainage system underneath it. Now, it either works or it doesn't. You've got guys about to spray a herbicide, which is toxic to aquatic individuals, and that would drain into the Kennet. Now, if it doesn't work, it was obviously there for a purpose. So are you looking at a water-clogged pitch when you start to play in the winter season?
Well, Mr. Goatley, introducing the subject of herbicides is, I think, new material. I don't have the answer to that question, but it's interesting the supplementary information you have provided in your supplementary question, and we will look into it and provide you with an answer.
Because there is a drainage system underneath it. You understand
Thank you
that?
very much. Okay.
Again, Paula Saunderson, your question H. F, sorry, I thought we'd gone through that one, but yes, we'll go F again.
Sorry, I asked for this separately. Okay, so we're now looking at the area as defined on the screen. I know there's work underway, and I want to understand what the work to Faraday Road will do and whether it's going to mitigate any of the pollution, the 10 to 12 pollution incidents that I've recorded in the last few months, that I'm about to write a paper on to our MP because she seems to be able to get to the bottom of this stuff. And also whether my last reply from Thames
Sorry, Paula
Sorry.
Saunderson. Yeah, I mean,
Can you not hear me?
Yes, I can, but you just basically, first of all, we just put the question as is stated on.
Yeah. Well, I had a response in the in question.
Yes. Well, maybe we can do that a little bit later. I'd like to give.
So basically, I need a meeting with people that understand this stuff within West Berkshire Council.
Thank you. So I'll ask
to bring
Councillor
together,
give you a reply.
to bring together the correct authorities to take
Thank
this
you.
work forward, which has always been supported by my ward council.
Yes, I understand. And
Thank you.
if you contact Councillor Gaines outside this meeting, that she might be able to help you further on that.
Yes,
Thank you
Ms.
very much.
Johnson, I'm happy to meet you. If you give me I will get your an email address and we can organise a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gaines.
That's by far the best solution. Thank you. So if we go to question G, John Goatley again, please come forward for Councillor Vickers.
Mr. Goatley, welcome to this question. This is a subject close to my heart as well. You are correct. The sewer is a surface water sewer that drains surface water from a large proportion of Newbury Town Centre. So do you have a supplementary relating to that?
Afraid so. So under the last administration, they paid no attention to sustainable drainage whatsoever, despite having that major sewer through the part there. They've commissioned a survey into sustainable drainage, but you've got no sustainable, no surface water plan, drainage strategy at all. And yet
So,
you're trying
Mr.
to do
Goatley,
SUDs.
is there a question in this?
Yes. I said, how can you do SUDs with no surface water drainage strategy, and yet you have a surface water sewer right through it, which you don't know what it's carrying? We get polluted all the time. So how can the SUDs work?
Mr. Goatley, so far we don't have any projects that we're looking at that have SUDs. When we get a planning application which requires SUDs, that is the time at which I think we will need to answer that question. But meantime, investigations continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we now move to question H, Paula Saunderson. question as put. Can you hear us?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry.
Yep. So just formally that you're
Start the
putting your
video,
question.
sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Vickers again, please.
Mr. Saunderson, good evening. Thank you for your
Hello.
question.
Hello, Tony.
Hello, Paula. Yes. The number of dwellings in Newbury settlement on the 1st January 2040 is projected to be 23,296. With regards to plans to ensure adequate water supply and sewage or surface water drainage infrastructure will be in place, well, we regularly consult with our statutory water provider, Thames Water, and no deficit in provision has been identified. However, there is a new policy in the local plan review as submitted that covers water supply. It's DM7, water resources. It would require all new residential developments to meet the building regulations optional higher water efficiency standard of 110 litres per person per day, as set out in the building regulations part G2. Planning conditions will be applied to new residential development to ensure that the water efficiency standards are met. And also the 2021 West Berkshire Water Cycle Study Phase 2 by our consultants JBA Consulting states that our district suffers from severe water stress.
Yeah.
And in our opposition Regulation 19 response, a request that all major housing developments adopt an even lower standard of 80 litres per person per day was included. And we'll just have to see if we can persuade the inspector to agree that relatively minor modification, which would have a number of advantages, I'm sure you're aware.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I think we're now up to 150 litres a day. So any public education we can do in that respect in the interim would be useful. I'm struggling to put this together with my last email from Thames Water, the CEO, in terms of drainage and wastewater management.
Thank you for the information, but do you answer a question there, please?
So my question is, how do we fit all this together with the plans that Thames Water have for drainage and waste management plans, and also groundwater impacted systems and their management plans?
I got it. Yeah, okay, Ms. Saunderson, yes.
Yeah, yeah. You understand what I mean, Tony, don't you?
Drainage, flood protection is a complex issue involving a number of agencies.
Yeah.
Trust us in this administration to try and work as closely together as we can, always try and do better than we have done in the past, is my view. But
yeah, we have a long history on this, Tony, and I think we need some better management arrangements. That's my request.
Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you. And we have now a questioner. Hi, by Paula Sanderson. If you would put your question. Yes, thank you. We'll take that as put.
Thank you again, Ms. Saunderson. Yes, the Berkshire Data Observatory that's your question, isn't it? I will refer to the Berkshire Data Observatory now in my answer. In respect to birth rates or death rates, the council is unaware of these assumptions behind the figures. For example, we're not aware of how they have applied a Berkshire figure, let alone a West Berkshire figure. The council uses the standard methodology as set out in the MPPF to calculate the number of houses. The government requires us to use this methodology in the preparation of the local plan, and this will be tested by the planning inspector at the examination. The process has been followed since 2012.
Thank you. Thank you. If we move now.
Do you have a supplementary?
Sorry, yes. Do you have a supplementary? We believe you're on mute.
I wish they wouldn't do that. Have we ever challenged these figures like Fareham and Wokingham and Bracknell and many other councils are doing, questioning these figures because have we ever challenged the number under the calculation?
It's a good point that we perhaps should challenge them, and I'll take that away and see if they could be challenged. It's very difficult to predict so far into the future. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, and there's lots of changes on the way, but thank you for accepting that request.
Thank you. So we move to question J. Paula Sanderson, would you like to, we'll take it as your question has been put to.
Yeah, that's submitted on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vickers.
Ms Saunderson, the Council's Environment Delivery Team are working with internal stakeholders to scope a green and blue infrastructure framework to support Council's own activity. This work is still at the concept stage, but the aim is that as the framework is developed, it will support planning policy colleagues in developing a green and blue infrastructure supplementary planning document in support of the new policy SP10, which is for green infrastructure within the local plan review. Do you have a supplementary?
I'm really encouraged to hear that because I have recently put a piece of GBI work in contact with Shore-cum-Donington Parish Council, which they weren't aware of, so that's great news. I would suggest that we don't reinvent the wheel, and Cornwall have been doing all this since 2015. So please, can you, please, my question is, please, can you look at other councils that have got really, really good examples out there of how this all interacts?
I think that's a very good idea. You come up with many good ideas, and I've already myself looked at one or two other councils at your behest, as you know. So that.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Is there a supplementary?
Well, it was the request to
Sorry,
look
that
at.
was a supplement. Sorry.
Yeah, look at other councils that have been at it for probably 5-8 years.
Good evening. Right, moving on to agenda item 8, which is a routine item. Are there any changes required of the membership of committees? Do I have anything from the floor? We have had nothing. No, okay then, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 9, we have the Hedgehog Highways petition response. Unfortunately, the petitioner Jill Hoblan can't attend. May I invite Councillor Vickers to formally move the recommendation contained within the report, please?
So moved, Chairman.
Thank you. May I ask for a seconder?
Second, I reserve my right, please.
Thank you. May I invite Councillor Vickers to introduce the report, please?
Chairman, I welcome the initiative of Newby Town Council referred to in the petition to support Hedgehog Highways. As I recall, I was at that meeting where the Town Council debated it, and I think this was passed unanimously. If I'm wrong, or if I spoke against it then, it was probably for the same reason I hesitated to support the petition as it's worded now. And why I support the recommendation tonight, whether or not it gets amended, and I believe it can't get amended under our processes. I will speak, I don't know if it's possible at this stage, but I will explain why I would have supported an amended petition. But the petition rightly refers to the Town Council requesting only that new housing developments, not office, industrial or other kinds of developments, have to provide hedgehog highways. And as the officer's report points out at 5.13, if a planning condition is to be imposed on a developer, it must pass certain legal tests. And also if a local planning authority wishes to introduce a policy that requires every new development to do that, to include such a condition, the policy must be backed by evidence that it passes similar tests. Such a policy or planning condition must be necessary, relevant to planning and the development to be permitted, and enforceable. Now, it's pretty obvious that whatever we think about the need to protect this particular iconic protected species, there are some new developments where it would not be necessary relevant, or possibly even enforceable. For example, what if there was a new waste recycling centre? Almost its entire surface would be impermeable and it would support very little wildlife or food for such a creature. What about the solar array development that currently Enbourne Parish Council's promoting on land that they control to help this district achieve its zero carbon ambitions? I don't expect there are any barriers to hedgehogs proposed, so such a condition isn't necessary. In neither case would such a condition be relevant. I can't see any ecologist even suggesting such a condition. Even some major housing developments are pretty unsuitable for hedgehogs, I would suggest. Take the proposed redevelopment of the Kennet Centre over the road from Market Street, or the soon-to-be completed Market Street urban village behind us. I imagine any ecologist worth their salt, far from insisting on such a planning condition, would object in the strongest terms to it. It would be more likely to result in inevitable hedgehog casualties, surrounded as it is by fast-moving trains, lorries and buses, and with hardly anything for the poor things to eat or drink. Hedgehogs should be actively discouraged from venturing into such areas, yet they are classed as new housing developments. Now, our planning officers have researched this subject carefully, and I commend the report and its recommendations to you. I could have supported an amendment to the petition to the effect that only suitable new housing developments be required to include measures to support hedgehog highways, but we can't do that. So I'm far more keen to ask members to focus on the second recommendation in 2.2. We can achieve at least 10 times the benefit to our threatened local hedgehog population, I would think, by supporting a campaign to encourage all existing residents of West Berkshire living in suitably hedgehog-friendly housing estates, such as Westfields, which is very close to here, where I live, across the road, and to make holes in their boundary walls and fences and tend their gardens if they have them in a hedgehog-friendly manner. That's what my wife Martha, the Green Champion, insists we do, and our neighbour has already knocked a suitable hole in our garden wall, where his semi-domesticated hedgehog sometimes wanders. The petition is, I'm afraid to say, somewhat ill-conceived, and no sensible local planning authority could adopt it unamended. However, we applaud the sentiments behind it. So, Chairman, I hope the Council will support the recommendations in section 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vickers. Do I have anybody who wishes to contribute? Councillor Sommer?
Chairman, thank you. And Councillor Vickers, thank you for that response. I'm encouraged, firstly, to hear the reflection of the officer's recommendation being positively taken. I think it's important that it's positively taken because, as I've said many times in this chamber, they are the technical experts. They don't come up with suggestions and ideas to block things for the sake of it. And I think the reflection that you've just read out is absolutely appropriate. Personally, I've got a garden which has got walls on two sides, a fence on the other, but it has a gate, and that gate has a gap at the bottom. And the hedgehog that lives in my garden quite happily goes through it. And if it knows what's good for it, it comes back in again at the end of the evening. That's how it works. Education and publication of anything that we can is absolutely the right way forward on this. We can all get behind that. If you've got a wall and you want to knock a brick out, good luck. I'm not even going to suggest that. If you've got a piece of fence and you want to cut the bottom out, that sounds like an appropriate action. But I'm glad that we have recognised, and if you'll forgive me, I think there's been a shift in the position that was some months ago taken by the then opposition. I'm happy to see that shift. I think it's the right place to go. I think it's the right thing, and I think it will still benefit the hedgehogs at the end of the day, and that's what we're all trying to achieve.
Thank you. Councillor Adrian Abbs.
Yeah, thank you very much. The comment I'd like to make is that we are in a new administration, we have a new tone, and the doors are open. As you've heard, we are struggling to support the exact wording of what was presented, not the sentiment. What I would like to say is, well, certainly for my own portfolio, is the door is open. Please knock on it. If you want to bring a petition, let's have a chat with the executive first. Much more likely, we can then bring it to council and get it adopted with little or no issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Culver?
Thank you. In response to Councillor Ebbs, this was presented back in October. So, yeah, okay. I just want to thank Jill Hoblin for having brought this petition forward originally. She was asked at 6 o'clock last night if she'd like to come and speak tonight. And I don't think it's very appropriate to only give a member of the public 24 hours notice to come and do that. As you will recall, back in October, a member of the public called Michael Wakeland Green wanted to speak in her place and was denied the opportunity to do so. I also don't understand the logic of asking a member of the public to come and give a speech 24 hours before when we already know that the executive had decided what their position is. Surely we should have listened to the member of the public back in October, then gone and considered what they had to say. So I'd like to make that point first and foremost. It is regrettable that it's taken us 9 months to get to this point, Chairman. The paper says no budget is available to promote the hedgehog. We haven't asked for any money in this petition. It also ticks a box saying that the environmental impact would be neutral. We, the petitioners, think that it would be positive to have hedgehog highways, not neutral. Paragraph 4.3 talks about how if we did this for hedgehogs, it would be to the detriment of other species. I don't know how having a hedgehog highway is to the detriment of other species. We're quite happy to recommend bat boxes and barn owl boxes, for example, when we have planning applications. So are we saying that that's to the detriment of other species? It seems to me that we're in this constant effort in this council to find excuses not to do things. And as a member of the planning committee, that makes me really, really frustrated. I don't understand why we can't do this for hedgehogs when we can do it for barn owls and for bats. Paragraphs 5.2 and 5.27 say that there's no evidence. There's evidence across the whole country that hedgehogs are under threat, particularly in rural areas, and we are a very, very rural district, as we know, 3/4 is AONB. So are we saying that we are better experts than the ecologists out there and the charities by saying that we don't think it's a problem in this area, and yet across the country we're being told by those experts that it is? We know that we've got an obligation under the Environment Act coming in this autumn that we have to work on local nature recovery networks. And we know we've got the ecologist at Windsor and Maidenhead who's going to do that work with us. That is all about connectivity. It's all about connecting habitats. This is also about connectivity. This is about connecting habitats for hedgehogs. So do precisely what it is that the government want us to do in the Environment Act. 5.18 talks about obesity. I have returned to the State of Britain's Hedgehogs report. There's nothing in there about obesity. So I don't know whether the council is trying to say, well, maybe hedgehogs are getting run over on the roads because they're too fat to get across the road quick enough. You know, there's absolutely nothing in any of the research about obesity. So I find these reports very imprecise and very sort of ducking and diving and trying to find excuses for not doing things. And I find that really, really disappointing. In 5.28, it says that people might block the holes. Yes, some people might, but a lot of people might not. So why don't we take the positive action of saying we'll do this? And if some people block the hole, okay, well, there you go. Nothing we can do about it. You know, we put up a bat box, maybe someone will take it down, but maybe another 9 or 10 people won't. So why don't we take the positive action rather than being negative all the time? 5.28, it says it's not habitat enhancement, but in the new draft local plan, it says precisely that. Paragraph 6.86. Paragraph 174 of the NPPF highlights the need to provide net gains for biodiversity by establishing coherent ecological networks. So if we were to adopt what the petition is asking for, we would actually be meeting one of the requirements of our new local plan. So again, why are we ducking and diving? If we already think this is good enough to put in the local plan, why is it not good enough to follow through on with the hedgehog petition? And you do say at the top that there should be a campaign for the public, but it doesn't go on to flesh that out at all. It talks about telling people to check their bonfires, but you know, what is it that you're expecting us to support tonight? You want to reject the petition, you want to say that we can't do it under planning, but we'll do a public education campaign, but with no detail about what that might include. So 1,500 members of the public have signed that petition and expect positive action. And there's no reason why this council can't say, OK, we'll do it, but we can't do it for flats. Nobody was ever asking for it to be for flats. Nobody was ever asking it to be for a recycling centre or a solar array. It's just nonsense. And it really, really, really frustrates me. You know, what does it say to the 1,500 people who signed this petition outside the council? We're here to represent them. not to duck and weave and find reasons to oppose the positive things that they want us to do. So I'm really, really, really disappointed by this evening. And I really hope that with the new administration, there'd be a much more positive attitude towards these kind of issues. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to respond to Councillor Abs's point about a new tone in administration. I think it's slightly unfair. The report that's been presented very well by Councillor Vickers is pretty much exactly what this administration would have presented ourselves. So, no, we don't really appreciate that. There's certainly a new tone in opposition, though. None of our members have been ejected from an executive meeting yet for disrespecting the leader. Thank you.
Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have much to add to what Councillor Culver has expressed so eloquently. I'd be astounded if some of the members sitting in this chamber don't agree with what she's just said, however they may vote in a few minutes' time. Just to pick up on her point about disappointment with the new administration. I mean, this originated, as Councillor Vickers said, as a Liberal Democrat proposal at Newbury Town Council. There are people sitting in this room, including me and several people opposite, who voted for this measure when it came before Newbury Town Council. So, Councillor Somner, I agree with you entirely that there's been what you call a shift, or you might call it a U-turn, but it's certainly not consistent with the policy that's previously been proposed. And to us, it feels like looking for excuses to not do what you previously supported. I mean, the thing about the wording of the petition, it's a petition. It isn't the exact wording that would go into the local plan or into planning requirements. It clearly means, it clearly specifically refers to, quote, new housing developments. It clearly doesn't mean some of the examples that Councillor Vickers gave, and I can't believe that it wouldn't be possible to find wording. You say you'd support it if the wording was different. Well, let's just change the wording a bit. Let's agree with the principle of what Councillor Culver and the petition are arguing, and then let's get the wording right, and then we can all be happy, apart from the Conservatives, who of course don't agree with this kind of thing at all. Sorry, Ross. And local authorities across the country have been doing this. There's no reason at all. You can go along and buy the fencing with the holes readily made in it. If that's a problem, there's no reason at all why the council could not adopt this policy, given the will. And it would send out a real message that when we talk about climate crisis, biodiversity crisis, and similar things, and I don't dispute for a moment that Councillor Abs is sincere and that people in the administration want to tackle those issues. But here's a real example of how we can do something for biodiversity quite easily and simply. And I really hope that you will think about this and stick to what has previously been the policy of the administration's party, and oppose what's in the, we don't like voting against stuff, but we're going to oppose the recommendation because we want to see what the actual petition calls for, which seems to us completely reasonable. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Dillon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was just in response to the petition. I'm sure Councillor Marsh and Councillor Culver will both be aware that over numerous years, we've had petitions come to us where I think you'll recall we agreed with like 5 out of the 6 points, but we didn't agree with the 6th point. And remember, we asked then at the time of, well, can we amend the petition? And I think the answer from the monitoring officer was you can't amend a petition because it's what the petitioners are asking you for. So we have to constitutionally respond to the wording of the petition, Councillor Culver, but I'm sure Councillor Vickers and Councillor Abs would be more than willing to work up a policy to bring through in response to the petition, but not in direct response to the petition as written. That's where we get into technical difficulties of, in effect, challenging what the petitioner has said. So I think we absolutely can get to that shared position, but from a constitutional position, we have to reply to the whole petition. We can't pick and choose which bits we want to reply to. Thank you.
Can I just make a point of information, Chairman, and with the greatest respect to the leader, the petition didn't ask for a public education campaign, but we're saying that we want a public education campaign. So why are you saying we'll have a public education? That wasn't in the petition. So you...
Thank you. Okay.
I'm just saying what the constitutional point, councillor Culver, through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I understand that is the position, unfortunately, for this particular item. If there's no other people who wish to talk, go to the seconder. Oh, sorry, councillor Brooks.
Just a brief point. Councillor Culver could presumably, and maybe you did this, you could have emailed or picked up the phone to Councillor Vickers, Tony Vickers, and said, can we talk about this? You could be involved in how we shape the policy. It's about communication. Or perhaps you prefer to come here and just grumble at us. But our door is open. I've got the floor. Bear with me a second. Our door is open. I don't hear of you contacting us at all. You know where we are. Come and talk to us. And I'm sure we can make good policy together. Thank you.
Thank you. Fine. Now, are there any other speakers? Otherwise, we'll go to the seconder and then to the motion. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Council. I suppose Councillor Dillon really, as leader, has said the principal point that I was going to make. I don't think that anybody in this chamber has any real doubt, but that the members on this side of the chamber are very much in favour of the principle which is embedded within this particular petition. But the crunch is, and Councillor Culver, I really do mean this. The crunch is that when you're given a petition, it is the wording which has been used in the petition, and whether 20 people have signed it or 2,000 people have signed it, they have signed up to a specific form of words. The specific form of words we cannot change. We can't change the wording in the petition, and we have to either accept this petition or, sadly, we have to reject it. And I am going to say that I am seconding Councillor Vickers' proposal, that I'm afraid, as it is worded, we have to not accept this particular petition. There is absolutely no question, I'm not on the front bench, but there is absolutely no question but that the idea, the actual principle that lies within this petition is one that we will be wanting to take further. And truly, the leader's already said it to you, we would be very, very happy indeed to hear your comments and to work with you and see how we can actually get a proper policy in place that will tick all the boxes and get through the planners. With the greatest of regret, I'm going to call upon all members of council to please vote with us against accepting this petition as it is worded.
Thank you for those concluding comments. I now invite Councillor Vickers to make concluding comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Incidentally, we mentioned phone conversations. I did reach out to Councillor Marsh today, and I think what we're in danger of in the green benches is to make process the enemy of something that we all disagree on. And I agree there are some defective processes, but in 2 months, we haven't been able to change those processes. And I would say that, you know, it's all very well rehashing the history of past PAGs, or what was said or what wasn't said. But I think we're in a good place here. And when you're looking at a petition, you look at what it's asking the council to do. The rest of it is interesting, preamble, supporting information. Can I read, Chairman, the only two things that the petition asked us to do? We, the undersigned, petition the council to reconsider the decision not to make hedge highways a planning condition for major planning applications. I've dealt with that. That has to be assumed to mean all major planning applications, whether or not they're housing, whether or not the environment that the development going in is suitable. And we've answered that in the report. We haven't said we're against hedgehog highways. The other thing it says at the very end is urging West Berkshire Council to reconsider short-sighted decisions, et cetera, in line with government guidance. We've quoted government guidance. Government guidance sets limits in planning policy, and we are reconsidering. The recommendation before us is to consider investigating how to conduct a campaign. And that's what we can work with together. So there really, I can't see any reason why any member of this council should not feel able to support the recommendation before them. And I think, you know, we are playing politics over process, which is not appropriate. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I will now ask the monitoring officer to take a vote by hands, please.
Thank you, Chairman. If I could ask all members in favour of the recommendation to please raise their hands. Thank you. And those opposed? Thank you. And any abstentions? I confirm, Chairman, that the recommendation has been approved.
Thank you. Right, moving to agenda item 10, the composition of the Joint Public Protection Committee. May I invite Councillor Dillon to formally move the recommendation contained within the report.
Propose that is moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. May I ask for a seconder?
Happy to do so, Chairman.
Thank you.
I think we all know when the leader and the leader of the opposition propose and seconds, I think it must be on to a good one. Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to bring my notes up. Bear with me. So those of you that have attended council meetings over the last few years won't be surprised to hear that when the Public Protection Committee met on the 12th of June and considered its terms of reference, I proposed that the composition of the committee be amended. I've long held the view that each authority should have 3 representatives reflecting the political balance of each authority on this important committee. So I therefore propose that we amend membership to include 1 executive and 2 council members from each authority, making it a committee of 6 members. So just a bit of background, if I may, Mr. Chairman, on the JPPC, the Joint Public Protection Committee. It was set up by a resolution of both councils, us and Wokingham. It's been in place since January 2017, meets about 4 times a year. It originally had 2 members from each of the then 3 partners, Bracknell, Wokingham and West Berkshire. On the 31st of March last year, Wokingham formally left the partnership, but it does have some shared services with us, and the committee reduced to 4 members. The committee has delegated executive and council functions to effectively have strategic oversight of the partnership and are permitted to make policy decisions affecting the shared public protection services. So the background to the proposal is set out in more detail in the report, but I can confirm that members of Bracknell Forest, members from Bracknell Forest who sit on the committee supported the proposal, and a timetable has been set up for consideration by their executive and council in September. So I'm proposing that the relevant constitutional and governance changes as set out in the report are to make it happen. And as the signing off of the inter-authority agreement that underpins the partnership is an executive function, then we will bring a further report back to this council's executive in September to have these changes formally signed off too. So what this allows in essence is another committee that has executive functions and that has council functions, but currently doesn't have to have any members of opposition political parties from those councils on it, will now have, at least from this council. Because I would like to propose that Councillor Howard Wollaston be appointed the representative from the council to be on the Joint Public Protection Committee, and that would come into effect once the inter-authority agreement is amended and approved by both councils. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor McKinnon, do you wish to speak now? Or?
I'm happy to wait until any other speakers have gone, Chairman,
Okay.
if there are any.
You reserve your right. Okay, thank you. So we wish to go to the debate. Anybody wish to contribute to this, or is it plain sailing? Oh, good. It's I believe it's plain sailing.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Leader, for this report. The Leader's quite right. He has been quite consistent in his wish to have opposition representation on the JPPC, certainly since I was elected 4 years ago. And I think it's to his credit that he's maintaining that position now he's on the other side. So I'd like to give credit to the.
Can I get your glass of water? Yeah.
I'd like to say well done to the party. No, joking aside, credit where it's due. I've said a few times already since we've been opposition that we have much more in common than divides us. We all want to do the best for residents of West Berkshire. We just disagree on how best to do that from time to time. So we're delighted to play as full a part as possible in doing that. So we're very happy to acquiesce to that proposal, and I'm sure that Councillor Williston will do a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Dillon, you wish to make some concluding comments?
I have a number of these small books around. I just grabbed one as a notebook. They're interesting. I was in a briefing with Sean Murphy earlier, who's our lead officer on it. And actually, the first page here is from the 24th of the 11th, 2016. And it's all about the setup of the Joint Public Protection Partnership. So quite interesting that I should have this book on me tonight. And it makes a point in here, which was a question, which is, could we have better representation on the committee? So as Councillor McKinnon says, yeah, a long time coming from my desk, but I'm pleased that we're in agreement about being able to deliver it. Thanks.
Thank you. So I will now ask the monitoring officer to take a vote by hands, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I please ask all members in favour of the recommendations, please raise their hands. Thank you. Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you, Chairman. I believe that has been carried unanimously.
Thank you. Moving to the next agenda item 11, motions from previous meetings. Ask the council to note the responses to motions previously presented to the council. There is no need for a vote on this subject. We go to moving on to agenda item 12 to 19. Council is asked to note the meetings as laid out in the agenda items. There's no need for a vote on this either. It's an information item. Okay, thank you. And then moving to agenda item 20, motions. May I invite Councillor Culver to formally move the motion with an amendment which will be displayed on the screen.
I formally propose the motion, Chairman.
I think we have a few technical difficulties. And there. May I check that the motion is seconded by, I believe, Councillor Martha Vickers? Thank you. So this motion will be referred to the executive without discussion here. May I ask Councillor Culver to, it's actually going via the executive to...
Sorry, point of order, please, Chairman, or point of information. I thought we had agreed earlier that rather than going straight to the executive, it would pass through EAG.
Yes.
Which is before the meeting of the next executive.
I'm taking it as a technical point because it has to be referred to the executive and then the executive forward it to the EAG. Sorry, a little bit of bureaucracy there. It will be going to EAG and then back to the executive.
Yeah, I think just for clarification, Chairman, it doesn't need to go to executive prior to EAG. If Councillor Abbs wishes to have a conversation at EAG regarding the motion, then Councillor Abbs, as the portfolio holder, can invite the mover of the motion to have a discussion at EAG prior to the motion being considered by executive.
Is that acceptable to you, Councillor Abbs?
Yes, I'd very much like to work with Caroline on the motion at EAG so that we can present something for
then it will be so.
Executive.
Okay, so you now have 3 minutes to address the item.
Thank you, Chairman.
Motion.
And I'd just like to thank Councillor Abbs for making the decision that in future EAG should be open to the public so that this can be debated there in a way that we couldn't do with the hedgehogs with PAG under the previous administration. So I welcome that. The UK is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world, Chairman. We're in the bottom 10% internationally and the last amongst the G7 nations. Many local authorities have declared an ecological emergency as well as a climate emergency. However, I've been told this evening that the wording for ecological emergency needs to be removed because we last discussed that within the last 6 months and it was rejected. However, that original motion was submitted 18 months ago. So because of the constant delays, we are now not able to include ecological emergency, and there is an emergency. So that's the irony. The council's officers have assisted wildlife by reducing verge cutting, planting wildflowers and supporting the Lockdown Woods project, amongst other things. And the improvements in habitat are very noticeable and welcome. And as we know, we are doomed if we lose our pollinators. The Greens secured extra funds in the budget in March for urban tree planting and wildflower planting, and we look forward to seeing that come to fruition. The Environment Act includes an obligation for local authorities to publish a local nature recovery strategy, and this council's sole ecologist left us, unfortunately, just a few short weeks ago. Windsor and Maidenhead have an ecologist who's looking at the Environment Act obligations, but I think we very much do need to recruit a new ecologist as urgently as possible, and preferably more than one, because of the increasing obligations that we face. And we do need an expert ecologist who can look at our planning applications. We can all help to protect and restore the natural world, and any positive action, large or small, should be encouraged. We shouldn't let the scale of the challenges that face us deter us and cause us to lose hope. Not everyone can afford an electric car, an air source heat pump or solar panels, but rewilding our gardens costs us nothing, produces profound results and saves us time and money. Working with residents and campaign groups to encourage action for nature by promoting initiatives like No Mow May, planting of trees, installation of bird boxes and so on should be encouraged. And finally, Chairman, Paula Saunderson mentioned this actually in the public questions earlier. We very much need to have a proper green-blue infrastructure in our draft local plan. And I very much look forward to us working together to achieve that. And the definition of that is a network of multifunctional green and blue spaces and other natural features, urban and rural, which is capable of delivering a wide range of environmental, economic, health and wellbeing benefits for nature, climate and the community. So benefits, very broad benefits, not only for nature, but for people and the economy too. So I very much look forward to discussing this at EAG with Adrian Abbs and other colleagues, and hope that we can reach a consensus on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Culver. Very succinct. Councillor Adrian Abbs.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. When I first read this, unfortunately, it came to me when the papers came rather than beforehand. And as I've said previously, please, my door is open. Please, if you're going to bring things like this, come to me. And as you'll remember, I did talk. I would hope to kind of do enough amendments to be discussed this evening as well, but we're not in that situation. So the next best I can offer is EAG. And the reason I wanted to do that was a lot of the things that you're asking for in the motion. I hope you'll be pleased to know I'd already started work on that at the moment. I was appointed a portfolio holder. So just for instance, the precarious state, yes, we recognise that. You've removed the word ecology now, but actually I've already instructed the officers to start rewording our climate emergency, which we'll come back and we'll talk more about that at EAG, go through the wording that I'm proposing for that. So it's already in play, if you like. You're absolutely right. We were at Western Area Planning, of which I happened to be chairman as well last night, and it's key that we have an ecologist to carry through. As far as I'm aware, there is no barrier to that. You know, there is no stopping reluctance to do that. It is something we need to meet our obligations as a council. So, well, I won't assume a finish here, but I'd be really surprised if anything but an ecology officer was hired. And as you saw, Councillor Vickers answered the green-blue infrastructure one during the question time. So we know that there's movement there as well. So nothing really to say against the motion. If I'd seen it before, we might have been able to change some of the words and just literally do it tonight. But the process, as I understand it, it would have had to have gone to executive to sign off. So All I'm saying is let's have an opportunity EAG. Fortunately, there's one en route to the next executive meeting, in which case we can debate it, add any information, change it as we wish, and get to the.
Thank you, Councillor Absar.
Thank you. Sorry. Finished.
Wonderful. So that will be forward via circuitous route to EAG. Fine. Now we move to agenda item. Oh, sorry, Councillor Martha.
As a seconder, I just wanted to.
Yes, of course. My apologies.
Sorry, no, that you don't have an opportunity to speak here because the motion has been referred to executive.
Okay.
So if you attend either EAG where it's discussed or executive, you will, as a member of council, have the opportunity to discuss that.
Thank you very much. I'll sit down.
And myself. Thank you. So that will forward to the EAG under the ordinance of the executive. So moving on to item 21, members' questions. If we have run out of time, we'll advise members that have been submitted questions that they will receive written responses following the meeting. If we haven't run out of time, then we thank members for their questions. The questions will appear on the screen and will be answered by the relevant portfolio holder. The questioner will then be given the opportunity to ask a supplementary question. This should be to clarify the response provided, and it must not introduce any new business. So we go on to the questions, please. So question A by Councillor Wollaston, to be answered by Councillor Gaines.
I thought Councillor Wilson was supposed to say.
Yes, I'm
in my name.
Councillor Wilson, just
That's submitted by name. My apologies.
Sorry, that was what I was waiting for. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, for that question. The pedestrianisation trial has been deferred. However, the administration continues to be totally committed to progressing with the trial as soon as possible. The whole purpose of this trial is to consult with stakeholders whilst being able to see in detail the exact impact pedestrianisation will have. I'm confident that the benefits to the town centre and particularly the evening trade will far outweigh any potential negative impact, which we will look to address during the trial. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, I do. Can I assume therefore that's going to be a formal consultation?
Sorry.
Can I assume that therefore there's going to be a formal consultation, particularly with local businesses?
We will continue to work with officers and actually look to the future of the next steps. So we're going to be working with officers on what the next steps are going to be.
So that's a no then.
That's not a no, it's an answer.
Yeah, thank you.
No.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to question B in the name of Councillor McKinnon.
Thanks. I asked the question as submitted. Thanks, Chairman.
I think we do stand still. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. As mentioned, the purpose of the trial is to consider the actual impacts on all sections of our community. The council will undertake a comprehensive consultation and engagement exercise as part of the trial and where possible address issues that are raised.
Thanks, Councillor Gaines.
You have a supplementary.
Thank you, Councillor Gaines. Yes, I do. Thank you for the answer, and also thank you for the information about the deferral of the scheme of the trial. I think it's the right call to do so, given the roadworks. My supplementary here is, what would you say to residents with mobility issues who say that a failure to consult them before imposing the scheme is a dereliction of duty, of the council's duty of care towards them, and that they should be asked their views before the council experiments with their daily lives?
Thank you for the supplementary. We will continue, as I said before, to work with all local representation organisations and local residents to actually find the best way possible going forward.
Thank you. If we go to question C.
I'll submit the question in my name.
Thank you.
Standing up, shouldn't I? Removing traffic from the town centre in the evening will create a pleasant and welcoming environment for visitors and residents, and will have a significant benefit for the nighttime economy. It will also encourage more active travel, which will hopefully have a net improvement environmentally. Inevitably, the displaced traffic will cause an increase on alternate routes. However, this will be monitored during the trial and will help inform the decision on whether to make the trial permanent. Do you have a supplementary?
I do. Would it not be better to conduct a traffic modelling exercise in advance?
Thank you for that supplementary. As I've just referred, we will work with officers and with local residents and with organisations, as we've done so far, to actually look at where we're going to go forward.
Thank you. We move to question D by Councillor McKinnon.
Submitted. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. The Council has due regard to all relevant statutory guidance when undertaking improvements on the highway network. Do you have a supplementary?
I do. Thank you, Councillor Gaines. That statutory guidance states that at the design stage of any scheme, local chiefs of police and emergency services must be consulted and local businesses must be consulted and given an opportunity to comment to ensure proposals meet their needs. And local disability groups should be consulted at an early stage of scheme development. How will the experimental order done before any consultation happens comply with that part of the guidance?
Any changes to parking or any changes to emergency services will be looked at in with officers and with residents and with local businesses, local representations as we go through this process.
At an early stage of scheme development.
We will let you know.
That's what the guidance says.
Yeah, I understand what the guidance says.
Thank you.
You've got to do it.
Excuse me, this isn't a debate, this is purely questions and answers. Okay, thank you. We move to question E. Councillor Williston again, I believe.
The question in my name.
I didn't even turn it off this time.
What did I?
Thank you, Councillor Williston. Emergency vehicles are already able to gain access through the bollards during the current hours of pedestrianisation using the issued electronic tags. There'll be no changes to that. So this will be the same process for the proposed extended period. Consequently, emergency service will be unaffected by any proposals we put forward. Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
I do indeed. The statutory guidance states that the design stage of any scheme, local chiefs of police and emergency services must be consulted. So why is the council apparently in breach of the statutory guidance?
You've just repeated a question that Councillor McKinnon has asked as supplementary. Is that allowed?
Yes.
Okay, so I refer back to my previous answer then. My previous answer is we will actually talk to local businesses, local residents, all of the statutory services that we're required to talk to before we put this process in place.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move to question F.
I submitted. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. Thank you for your question. Businesses will be fully engaged throughout the trial to understand the issues they face and where possible, adjustments will be made to minimise any detrimental impact. We've already engaged with the BID, Newbury Town Council, Newbury Town Centre Master Plan, which was one of the initiatives that have been through. There have been over 4,000 responses, and much of the research dealt with these sorts of questions. Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
I do, Councillor Gaines, and before I ask it, can I offer my sympathy? I've been in that position of having a series of questions, one after the other, so I know how it feels. It's nothing personal, I promise. But my supplementary question is, you mentioned the BID there. The BID doesn't represent all businesses, not by a long shot. And let's say that a couple of months into the trial, a business or businesses, they can't arrange deliveries between midnight and 10 AM, or they can only do so with increased cost, perhaps putting their future at risk. What happens then?
A trial is a trial. That's the whole point of a trial. And as we go through the trial, there'll be consultation. So we will actually talk to businesses, find out what the issues are, and actually then make any recommendations going forward. But it is a trial.
Thank you. And then we move to the final question, G, from Councillor Clark to Tony Vickers. Councillor Tony Vickers.
As submitted in my name. Thank you.
My turn. Thank you, Councillor Clark, for your question. The local plan review was under the previous administration, previous council, submitted to the Planning Inspectorate in March. An inspector has been allocated and he's asked a number of preliminary questions which the council is required to respond to. An extension of time to respond to the questions has been requested and it's been granted by the inspector. So we now have until the end of September to answer his questions, and the examination in public of the submitted local plan won't now begin until early next year. Now, we understand the importance of an up-to-date local plan to secure high quality new development, which is supported by infrastructure and which seeks to minimize the impact on the environment. However, there is currently great uncertainty surrounding the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill, known as LURB at the moment. I suppose it will become LURA possibly sometime. It's led to a number of councils to pause their plans. And we also remain concerned about the issues that we raised at Regulation 19 stage of the local plan review when we were in opposition. So given the circumstances, the extension of time provided by the inspector is very welcome to allow us new members in particular to understand the progress of the legislation and to work with our officers to see if our concerns about the West Berkshire local plan as submitted can be addressed. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Can you tell me what the risks are that will guide the recommendations that you expect to present to the council later in the year, please?
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Well, of course, the biggest risk has always been not knowing what the government will do with national planning policy, the NPPF or the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill. And a revision to the NPPF that was consulted on at the beginning of this year started right after our Regulation 19 consultation started, and which the government said it would respond to by late spring, is delayed. We now won't know what they intend doing until September with the NPPF. And that's probably to tie in with the hoped for completion through Parliament of the LURB bill. But the development industry doubts whether the bill will become legislation at all in this Parliament. And when a bill fails to complete its passage in one parliamentary year, it has to start all over again in the next. I'm glad we don't have to do that with our council policy. We'd have to start the local plan all over again or something. So all this is amounting to major uncertainty and hence a big risk. The whole development industry is held back by this, the whole economy in a way. So no wonder over 50 local planning authorities, including Mr. Gove, the Secretary of State's own, have paused their plans. Now, there's much that's good in this council's emerging new plan as regards district-wide thematic policies. And that's why, after such hard work, cross-party by our officers, ably led by Councillor Richard Somner, we're reluctant to risk losing much of that for a few years if there's a significant delay in adopting a local plan. This has to be a plan for the whole district. Hungerford, Hermitage and Holybrook, Purley and Peasborough, not just Thatcham and Newbury. So our response as opposition to the submitted plan is in the public domain for all to see. It's our starting point as a new administration, and we are committed to make all reasonable efforts to change the local plan accordingly. And our approach in this is to work closely over the summer with all key stakeholders, negotiate the best possible outcome that can satisfy as many of them as possible and minimise costs and delays. We have a mandate from the voters of West Berkshire to do just that. But there's no outcome free of significant risk. And we have only until the end of September to come back to this council with a recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Clark, for your questions.
Thank you very much. So with that, thank you all for your attendance and participation. Here, we now close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please ask members to stand for the Chairman of Council?